welcome back to Gay Fat Friend and Friends, the podcast. The podcast for grocery getters. That's right, we will be talking about grocery stores today. I have a lot of opinions. But first, before we get into that, I have a little bit of housekeeping. Everybody's favorite segment, housekeeping. Last week, we did talk about restaurants, as we always do. And I was trying to think of the name of the Mexican restaurant in St. Louis that advertised that they had fried ice cream, which I've only tried once in my life, and I don't remember the experience at all because I was quite young. So I really, really, really hope that at some point in my life I get to re-experience deep fried ice cream. But the restaurant that touted that it had fried ice cream was Chi-Chi's. Everybody talked about Chi-Chi's. I can't remember their jingle because they had so many commercials, and it was all about fried ice cream, or it like always ended in fried ice cream. I almost feel like it was like Dairy Queen when their full meal deal, like if you ordered a meal, it always came with a free ice cream at the end. I'm pretty sure that's how the fried ice cream worked at Chi-Chi's. I don't know. Also, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Chi-Chi's was like one of the first big Mexican restaurant chains that did free chips and salsa when you sat down. I could be totally wrong, but I feel like when it comes to chains, when it comes to big corporate chains, I think Chi-Chi's was the first chain that did free chips and salsa. And then also, like I said, deep fried ice cream. I believe deep fried ice cream was a scoop of vanilla ice cream rolled in some kind of nut, maybe? That's what she said. But I think it was rolled in like a ground up nut with possibly like a tempura batter. I don't know. But I just remember that the oil was so hot that once you dropped it in the oil, because it literally was just a scoop of ice cream, you could deep fry the outside without affecting the inside. I don't know. I've been thinking about it a lot this week, and I'm kind of obsessed. So if anybody knows where to get deep fried ice cream in the year 2024, please let me know. I'm willing to travel. I'm willing to travel to get this fried ice cream because I cannot remember any part of my experience with it the one time I did try it. And I think I was like 13, 14. I don't know. Growing up in the 90s, all we had was TV and commercials. And so when you saw that fried ice cream commercial over and over and over again, when I tell you, I dreamt about it. I needed that fried ice cream. And I got it, and I don't remember if I liked it or not. So, like I said, if there's fried ice cream out there, let me know about it, because I need it. Another little fun thing before I talk about grocery stores. If you followed me on TikTok, you've seen, and on Instagram, I have been on the search for Swedish candy, specifically this candy called Bubs. They're about, I don't know, they're oval shaped, kind of like a football. They're about the size of, I don't know, I feel like we compare everything in the world to fruit. Maybe a kiwi. Maybe they're like the oval size shape of a kiwi. They're flat. They're like a foamy, taffy, I don't know. It's fruity. It's delicious. I've wanted to try it. It blew up on TikTok, and I keep seeing people eat it. And I'm a big texture eater when I eat. I love certain textures, and there's certain things that I just want to chew on and eat. And Bubs popped up, and I was like, that's a texture I have to try. I know it's going to be good. I have to try that texture. I have to get that in my body right now. And finally, I got Bubs in my life. There's a Scandinavian store in Seattle. If you're not familiar, there's a huge Scandinavian population in Seattle, and so they have a lot of Scandinavian stores, and there's a specialty store that imports a lot of candies, pickles, sweaters, just anything that would be popular for tourists in Scandinavia. They ship it over, and the biggest thing is their candy, and they're called Bubs, and they're delicious. And I finally got some. And you guys, when I tell you it is exactly what I wanted, it is just a big mouthful of chewy, foamy, fruity candy. I'm so happy. I feel like when people announce 2 weeks after they've given birth, like how happy they are with the baby in their life, we're just so happy right now, you guys. Now that we have Bubs, we're just so happy. Our lives feel complete. The energy in the house has changed. So anyway, if you know what Bubs are, if you've seen them, and if you've been on the fence about them, go out of your way to find them. They are worth it. They're very expensive because they're all imported, and they're in high demand, okay? They are selling out everywhere. You have to go to specialty shops to get them. But if you're willing to put in the work, or, if you live in Seattle, go to the Scandinavian specialty store and pick up some bubs. They are delicious, they are life-changing, and they are worth it. All right, the other thing I wanted to talk about today is grocery shopping. You guys know I love grocery stores. I feel like I could do a podcast, and I kind of feel like this podcast was supposed to be all grocery stores all the time. Even though my friend Brian already has a grocery podcast where he talks about different grocery stores, but I want to do that too because grocery stores are such a happy place for me. I think they're fascinating. I could literally spend all day in a grocery store. I love it. I understand that a lot of people don't. I understand that grocery shopping is a stress for a lot of people. It's a hassle. They don't like it. It's overstimulating. It's too much work. It's just feels like a chore nonstop. And that's why I understand the need for grocery shopping services like Instacart and Postmates and stuff like that. But I got to tell you, from a person that loves grocery stores, those services are ruining the grocery buying experience. Again, I get it. Some people can't even leave their house, so they have to have groceries delivered. Some people are very busy, and the last thing they want to do is shop for groceries, so they have them delivered. I get that there's a very big need for these services. I get that they are very helpful in the world, even for the shoppers. I get that the shoppers need those jobs. They want to make that cash. I get it. But my little soapbox is Instacart and various shopping services are ruining the grocery store experience. Even at Target, I'm sure you've noticed now, if you go into a shopping place to shop, there are so many people in vests walking around with giant carts, just scanning and pulling, and shopping and stacking. And they're always in the way. They don't really know anything about the grocery store. I don't even know if they work for the grocery store or if the stores make them wear those vests while they're shopping for the service. But I feel like if you work at a store, and especially if you're wearing that store's uniform, you should be open and able to answer a question about that store. Several times I've been I wonder where this product is. Oh, look, there's a person in a vest. I'll ask them. And they'll be like, oh, I have no idea. I don't know the floor. And I'm like, okay, never mind. I obviously don't put up a stink. I'm not going to talk to anybody. I'm not going to talk to any managers or anything about this. But it's just frustrating when you want to do something in a store and you can't find it and you see someone that works there. I mean, I feel like baseline, they should at least know where it would be or be able to help you find it. That's another thing. A lot of times they're not even willing to help you. I know I sound very much like a Karen right now, but I'm mad. I'm mad. The other thing is that they're always in the way. I have gone down aisles where say I need ketchup. And there'll be one of those giant carts with someone scanning and shopping right in front of it. And then all I need to do is get to the ketchup. And they don't move. They don't acknowledge you. They don't do anything. They're just in the zone. A lot of them here in Seattle are wearing headphones in their own little zone. You can't even talk to them. But the other problem is when you get to the checkout several times. And again, this is only recently because these services only just now exist. But several times I will get up to the checkout and the person in front of me has a full cart. I don't mind waiting at the checkout. I love looking at the magazines. I love seeing what's new in candy. Obviously, I'm obsessed with candy. I don't mind standing in a checkout line. It doesn't really bother me. But I have gotten behind Instacarters who have 3 or 4 orders and they're all messed up. One time, something was wrong with their card and I just, when you get trapped in a line, all your stuff's on the belt, there's people behind you, the Instacarter is in front of you and they're trying to figure out their phone and they're trying to figure out the app and the orders and the receipts and you're just trapped. That's when I get upset. I hate being trapped. I mean, it's like a claustrophobic thing, but also it's just I am very much a Virgo and very much have a plan to do things. And whenever that plan gets stifled or whenever that plan gets arrested, I get very uneasy. I get very uncomfortable. I do not like the world when that happens to me. So anyway, all that to say, from a shopper's point of view, from a person who treats grocery stores like they are Disneyland, these shopping services are literally ruining my life. Okay? I have this much joy. If you're not watching on YouTube, if you're just listening, I am holding up a half an inch between my fingers. I have this much joy in my life sometimes. And most of that joy is coming from the grocery store. So I'm very passionate about it. And I just need you to know. And if you are one of those shoppers, look, I love you. I get it. You're working. You're doing your job. I know that shopping is only half the job. Then you got to deliver it and take it to people's houses. I've seen people order like 10 cases of water to their 5th floor walk up. Don't do that to people. I'm sorry. If you are unable to leave your house, I get it. But you don't need 10 cases of water on the 5th floor of a walk up. Don't make somebody deliver that. That's just rude. I get we're all in the same boat of just trying to survive, but I just needed to complain about it for a minute. You know, sometimes, like I've said before, it just feels good to complain. Sometimes you just need to complain. Oh, I feel so much better. Thanks for letting me let that out. All right, I think it's time to move on to our next segment, which is the little Robbie Man segment, because he's upstairs itching to get down here and join the pod. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Rob. Yay!
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, hello.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
How's your morning going?
Sleepy.
I was going to say, you're a little upset because we started so early today.
I mean, I've been up for like less than an hour, I think, at this point. So, you know, good morning, everyone.
I've been thinking that maybe we should record these on like Friday afternoons.
I don't know, though. You've seen me. Like, as soon as work is done on Fridays, I started taking that like 2-hour nap now for
That's
some
true.
reason, which is new.
Well, you know, you're growing, you're becoming a man, things are changing, your body's changing, there are changes happening inside you as you get older. But yeah, we'll see. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I have some traveling coming up in the next couple of weeks, so there's definitely one Sunday we won't be able to record. Maybe we can do it at night and see what the energy is like. It could be a totally different podcast. Well, I mean, it's noon on a Sunday right now. Who knows what's going to happen at 5 o'clock on a Friday?
Well, if anything, I feel like what was it? Like early evening is probably like my sleep time. But then like I come back to life around like 11:45 p.m. So if we can record really late, that'd be great. Like,
well, and I don't know if we've ever talked about this, but like I can nap. Like literally 15 minutes, 20-minute, a good old disco nap. Sitting up in a corner like a literal disco nap. I can sleep at a bar. I've done it. You do not have napping in your DNA. You cannot nap.
I do not. I'm a terrible napper. I'm a very good sleeper though, and that's the issue. It's like a nap becomes bed.
Yeah.
Bedtime wherever I am.
Which I've always been very jealous of. Literally, as soon as your head hits the pillow, you're out.
Yeah. Which also, I mean, like, yeah, you say you can sleep upright anywhere. I can sleep anywhere, but I will sleep for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, minimum like 2 hours.
Yeah. Like my usual 20-minute disco nap, even if I set alarms, turns into about 1.5 to 2 hours of just like waking up sweaty, disoriented,
confused,
very, very out of it. Although that stems largely, I think, from the fact that I had glasses for so long, and I needed my glasses to do anything. And typically, if I'd wake up from a nap, I'd either somehow have lost my glasses while sleeping because, you know, I'm a tosser and a turner and I roll around a lot, or kind people will remove them from me so I don't destroy them, and they'll put them somewhere, and then I wake up and I can't see. And and also, especially if I tend to fall asleep around dusk or wake up around dusk, I don't know if it's the morning or if it's the evening.
Next day.
Yeah, I don't know if the sun's coming or going. And also, so yeah, I literally, like, you know, it's a thing where often I feel like you wake me up and you're like, we have to go, and I'm like, hold on. What day is it? Like, I literally have to, it's almost like I'm coming out of a coma.
Yeah.
And
you also don't like, you don't know, like, you don't remember talking to me in your sleep, or like when I'm trying to wake you up.
Ooh,
like,
no.
there are times where I have to like literally shake you, yell at you, wake you up, you fall back asleep. We'll do that like 3 or 4 times, then I'll finally get you up. And I was like, I've been doing that for 30 minutes. And you're like, really?
Yeah. I'm a very honest person. I'm a terrible liar, but I will say anything to get you to leave me alone so I can keep sleeping.
Yeah.
Like, it is a thing where, like, I remember in high school, I woke up once and I was like, why am I not at school? And my mom was like, well, I tried waking you up and you just wouldn't get up, and I asked if you had anything important to do today, and I figured maybe you just needed like a mental health day or something because you said that it wasn't a big deal if you missed today. And I was like, no, not the case. I have so many tests today. But it was a thing of like, just like sleep brain, Rob, will lie to your face to let me keep sleeping. It's a weird gift at times. But yeah, like my record for just like, this is non-chemically assisted sleep. My record is 19 hours in a row. Like, I can sleep, although that was in response to me staying up for about 56 hours nonstop for a cram session in college.
You're a very deep sleeper.
Yes.
And you can sleep forever.
Yeah, but I sleep walk, I talk, I laugh. That's the one that scares people the most. I scream. I do all sorts of weird things in my sleep, but laughing is usually the one that upsets people the most, especially because my sleep laugh is not my normal laugh.
It isn't. It's totally different.
It's more of a titter. It's kind of creepy.
And your sleep talk is rarely words. It's usually gibberish.
Yeah.
And just noises, occasionally with like 1 or 2 words
Although,
put in there.
you know, like the one story we always talked about, because like it used to be that Todd would text me the stuff that I'd said in the night, if it was especially remarkable, just because it was funny and he wanted me to see it when I woke up. And one night, apparently, I rolled over at him, and I think he thought I was going to say something insightful, or maybe, like, I don't know if you knew I was asleep, but apparently I looked at him and I just went, "Stupid kids." I don't know what I was dreaming about, but apparently
Very much like old man, get off my lawn.
some punk kids were bothering me at night. But yeah,
And we quote that regularly. We say
Stupid
that.
kids.
Stupid kids. Just like a perfect, mean whisper. And it was so funny. It was just, stupid kids.
Well, but it's funny because you have interesting sleep habits too.
I very much have night terrors. I suffer from night terrors.
Yeah.
Have, knock on wood, haven't had one in quite some time. Watch, I'll have one tonight because we talked about it. But yeah, I have full-on night terrors where I think things are happening in real life, and like I'll be fully awake. It's almost like a form of sleepwalking. I'll be fully awake, processing a thing that is happening that is not happening in real life.
Yeah.
And then I will wake up in the middle of talking. So
And I had to learn how to navigate that, which was a little alarming at first because I wasn't used to anybody having weird sleep shit like me. Or I would sleep through it,
yeah,
I guess. And so, yeah, there was one night, like this was before we even moved in together. You were sleeping over at my apartment, and I woke up because, like, I think you literally like shook me awake.
yeah.
And I was like, what? And I, like, for some reason, I was wide awake. Like, I was super alert. And I sat up, and Todd had both of his hands on the sides of his pillow, pressing them against where it was. It's
The
not like he
bed,
was choking
yeah.
anybody, but like he was, or suffocating anyone. But yeah, it was like he was holding it down where his pillow originally was. And I was like, what? He goes, I caught a rat under my pillow. And like, I'm pretty confident in my apartment that there's no rats here. But like, and so I processed for just like a split second, and I'm like, no, babe, you're asleep. You're asleep. Which is usually all I have to say. And he's like, oh, okay. And he just kind of puts his head right back down on the pillow and just goes back to it. But this night wasn't happening. And he was just like, he's like, no, there's a rat under this pillow. And so I play along. And I'm like, okay, on 3, lift the pillow and I will catch it. Meanwhile, I am thinking, if there is actually a rat under this pillow, I am going to die. This is terrifying. And I'm just like, I've never called someone's bluff, like, or, so hard to be like, no, I'm confident about this, but if I'm wrong, I will never forgive myself nor live this down. And luckily there was no rat. It was fine.
Yeah. Well, and the way I come out of night terrors is that I always pretty much laugh it off and go, oh, it wasn't real.
Yeah.
Good night.
Or he's very apologetic sometimes, like, well,
Yeah.
okay. Like,
It's funny because the origin story of my night terrors, the very first one I had ever, was the night of September 11th, 2001. And I was living with 2 other roommates in college, and I woke up. Well, I guess I didn't really wake up, but I came out of it running down the hallway screaming, there's a bomb, like in our apartment. And by the time I got to the living room, which was kind of far away, it was a really long hallway, I got to the living room and I was like, there's a bomb. And my roommate was like, what? And I was like, oh, never mind. And I was like processing it. I was like, never mind. I don't know. That's weird. All right. I went back to bed. And that was the very first night terror I've ever had. But I've had several, like, notable ones are one time my belt was next to the bed and I rolled over. This was with my friend Kevin. Like, my friend Kevin was sleeping in my room. And I rolled over and my belt was on the floor, and I picked up my belt thinking it was a snake in my dream. And I was like, I got a snake. I got the snake. And Kevin was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, I came out of it and it was a belt. And I was like, never mind. Ha ha ha.
Let's claim that as the reason why I refuse to wear belts. But no, it's funny because like my first like really, I mean, I've heard all sorts of stuff about the way I sleep. In that like one time I fell asleep on the couch when I was like, I don't know, 10 probably, and my family literally told me, they were like, you sat up in the like we were all watching TV, you were asleep, you literally sat up from the sofa, pantomimed drinking something, and then went right back to sleep. But like, you didn't actually drink anything, but you did the gesture and then laid back down. And that's all you needed. And then you were fine. But it's funny because like I've sleptwalked once. And it was honestly one of the worst experiences of my entire life. And that was when I was 10. And it was on Thanksgiving Day. So it's funny. You had a September 11th thing. I had Thanksgiving. And like literally.
Equally as scary as September 11th.
But it's like, I was asleep on the sofa mid-afternoon or whatever. And all of a sudden I got up and I started walking through the kitchen. And this is back in the day when people, I think, were still like, we have to baste the turkey and we have to kind of mess with it every 20 minutes because Thanksgiving's a huge production. And so I think the oven door was open apparently, and everyone thought that I was going to hit my knee or something on it. They didn't understand what was happening. So my mom grabbed me by the shoulders and shook me awake. And when it happened, I went into immediate hysterics, like screaming, crying. I could not stop. Yeah. And like literally I remember my mom grabbing me by the like underneath the arms and just literally picking me up and running me upstairs because she didn't know what to do, and she laid me down on her bed and was trying to calm me down, and I was literally like just writhing and screaming. And and then because
you're never supposed to wake up a sleepwalker.
It was awful. And I mean she had no idea that was happening to me. And then I had recurring nightmares for about probably 45 days, the same nightmare every night. Until it finally passed. But yeah, it's like, look, I'm terrified I'm going to sleepwalk again just because I have no idea what caused that. And at least the response to it was not good.
Yeah.
But yeah, sleeping. Fun, right?
Yeah, sleep. It's a terrifying journey.
And can you believe that? Like, it's a thing that our bodies require. It's just a thing. Like,
I hate it. Well, the thing about me, one of the things I'm jealous about you is, like I said, when your head hits the pillow, you are literally snoring in 2 seconds.
Yeah, we've had mid-conversation me passing out.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I get in bed and stare at the ceiling for an hour or 2 hours almost every night. Also, my whole life, I've hated going to bed. I have this like fear of missing out. Feeling that like even if it's 1 a.m, I still feel like there's shows I could watch, there's stuff I could look at on my phone, there's projects I could do. Like I don't know how I developed this weird FOMO of going to bed, but to this day I hate going to bed. But also because a lot of bad things happen in my sleep with night terrors and stuff, I'm sometimes afraid to go to sleep. I'm like, what's going to happen tonight? Am I going to throw my back out in my sleep, which I've done several times? Am I going to have like a crazy night terror? So
well, it's like late night is my favorite time of the day. Yet still though, I do love sleeping. But but although I will try to stay up as late as possible just because I don't know. I like nighttime and being by myself and getting to play games and watch TV and stuff.
Well, nighttime is the right time.
The nighttime is the right time.
There's a reason why they say that.
Yeah.
I was going to say, though, the funniest thing about you is that you are the king of 5 more minutes.
Oh, yeah.
But also with everything, like sometimes Rob sometimes has a child's vocabulary and it's very funny and I love it very much. But he is definitely the king of 5 more minutes of playing a game, watching a movie, going shopping, anything. He loves 5 more minutes, but especially when it comes to sleep, I feel like I'm a human snooze alarm because he'll always 5 more minutes me. Now it's 30 minutes. Like he says 5 more minutes, I give him 30 minutes. Unless we're literally in a hurry and have a schedule and have a place to go. But I used to try to do 5 more minutes and I'm like, oh, he's just snoozing me.
Well, and then I wake up and I'm like, how could you let me sleep for 30 minutes? I'm also very appreciative because I probably really did need it. But also at the same time, though, at least on the surface level, I have to be like, but I'm responsible and you needed to help me be responsible.
You're very spicy when waking up. So it's just like, you know what? I'm going to enjoy this 30 minutes of peace while he's asleep.
Well, it's just the confusion. It's just that thing. Well, and like, Todd's learned to gently onboard me back to reality of like, it is Tuesday. It is 7 p.m. You've been asleep for 40 minutes. Here are your glasses, which I mean, I had LASIK years ago. So at least now I can wake up and I can see, which has done wonders to orient me when I wake up from a nap. But
on the flip side too, you are the worst person to wake up, but you are the cutest sleeper. I have so many pictures and videos of Rob sleeping because he sleeps like almost like an Anne Geddes painting or portrait. He is just the cutest, most angelic, sweet little sleeper. He makes the funniest little noises when he's snoring and stuff, and he just looks so adorable. So,
or Lazy Day by the River, apparently.
Oh yeah, I have this thing called Lazy Day by the River, which comes from like Huckleberry Finn, where he sleeps with both hands behind his head and his elbows up in the air. He literally just needs like a big piece of straw coming out of his mouth and his ankles crossed on a fence, and he will look like Huckleberry Finn. But yeah, I call it Lazy Day by the River or half Lazy Day if it's just
if I do one arm.
But he loves a good hand behind the head while he's sleeping, and it's hilarious. And yeah, so I love to
and because I don't go to sleep like that. I am a side/stomach starter of sleep, and then apparently I middle of the night straight on the back, both arms like that. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Hands behind the head. It's so cute. One day I'm gonna do just like a full like art gallery exposition, or what is it called?
No. Oh my.
Anyway,
exhibition.
I was like,
man.
wait a minute.
I was like, it is early.
It is early. We're forgetting words. But yeah, one day I'm going to do a big art show of all the pictures and videos I've taken of Rob sleeping because he's just the cutest. Speaking of the cutest, big news. Last night we did something that made me very happy. Rob agreed because he's not a Swiftie. He's not a Taylor Swift fan. Not. But he agreed to listen to Tortured Poets with me last night because we bought the vinyl. And no judgment. Say whatever you want. Well, what did you think?
Honestly, it is a thing where, like, I'm a big believer in cultural literacy. Like, I should at least experience it once. Taylor Swift and I have a difficult relationship, one-sided relationship. She doesn't know who I am, and she doesn't care, and that's fine. No, it's a thing where, like, I can appreciate what she does for people. I don't think this album is it. Like, when it comes to, it's not an approachable album by any stretch for the outsider. And I'm not alone here, and even like she's recognized this. Like one of her lyrics, which song is it where she says like everyone says she's drunk on her own tears all the time? Is that Daddy I Love Him?
I don't know.
Like one of her lyrics literally says she's like, everyone says I'm drunk on my own tears all the time, and I'm like, that's what I've been saying about you for a decade now. And it's that thing of like, I get it. We all go through heartbreak. That is a shared emotional experience. But I don't know. It's funny because I was trying to figure out like why do I have such a hard time with Taylor complaining about her relationships? And it's a thing where I guess where it feels like her complaints still feel very teenager-y at times, even though she's 35. And it's funny because I guess, I don't know, when I was a teenager, I went through my Fiona Apple, Tori Amos. Like I had my angry women and I loved them. But I don't know. I just feel like I guess their anger grew up with them. And I feel like Taylor's hasn't entirely, but she's also speaking to a younger audience that really does relish her drama at times. And so
also I feel like when it comes to your music tastes, you like when people stay in their lane. And so Tori Amos and Fiona Apple were always considered alternative, maybe maybe even rock or like electronica, but Tori, like when musical artists start in a certain lane and they do a thing, you kind of want them to stay in that lane. And so the fact that Taylor is making Fiona style music now, but is a pop idol, it's just everybody comes in with preconceived notions, and everybody has. It's like if you that thing where like you got food poisoning from a restaurant, you never want to go to that restaurant again. Like it's ingrained in you to just have that uneasy feeling about something. So it just changes the way you take it in. Well,
and I guess when we're talking about it yesterday, like I don't want to make it sound like I'm dismissing anyone's feelings here, but like it does feel like at least when I was going through my heartbreak alternative phase, it felt very. Also, a lot of that anger and stuff was very directed inward. Like if you look at like bands like Garbage, they're depressed and they blame them sometimes. Like it's very much like inward, which I think is more how I process stuff. Mm-hmm. And I was we were talking about Tortured Poets, and I was like, this almost feels like not so much like my heart's broken and I'm learning from this. It felt like airing grievances. And it's like, there's one thing to just be like, you did this to me, you did this to me, you did this to me. Like that's a little too much, giving up your power. At times, and so I don't know. I have a hard time with it, and also like you even helped kind of I think identify this, and that Tortured Poets is often kind of, for in a sense like poetry to music, and so like I feel like some of her melodies on this one weren't very strong. Her production wasn't super interesting, but also I'm tired of the Jack Antonoff stuff. Yeah. And when we talked a little bit more, because like I'm a very casual Taylor listener, but I will recognize that like Reputation has some killer production on it. Like the songs in there are bangers. Whether or not I feel Look What You Made Me Do is something that a 9-year-old would say, like some of those songs are cool to listen to. 1989 has just pop bangers. Like I know that like
that's Max Martin.
Taylor fans hate Shake It Off, in that like Shake It Off is not what they think of when they think of Taylor, but like every non-Taylor fan goes straight to Shake It Off. Shake It Off is super fun, and and like, the music video is even super fun, and I love when she's able to make fun of herself. And like that's actually I think what made 1989 so appealing, is like she was able to be like yeah, like aren't I the joke here, and instead of being like
same with Midnight's too.
Yeah, well, and Midnight's was a very approachable album. Like, it's funny, the more I think about it, like, there's a couple of songs that just kind of are total earworms, and like they don't necessarily have to be life-changing, but it was like Midnight's was a very digestible album.
Yeah. Well, and I think Taylor's really good with like self-deprecation too.
Yeah.
I mean, on Midnight she said, "I'm the problem, it's me."
Which I do love that in Tortured Poets, she is calling out even her fans, it seems. Like, if you want to decode her lyrics and kind of interpret
That's
them.
what But Daddy, I Love Him is.
Yeah. Which
is about, I think it's about, she's talking to her fans, not her dad.
It is nice to kind of have that level of just like, oh, right. Like, I get that, because I'm in the public sphere, you guys all feel like you have a stake in this. Back up.
Yeah.
Like, just chill.
Let me be a person.
Totally.
And do my own thing and make my own mistakes.
But yeah, so I think there is something interesting there. It is one thing where, like, let's just say, like, this will never happen. If I were to date Taylor, I would probably have her sign an NDA. Like, I'm sorry. Like, it's also, she dates celebrities. That's the thing where I feel like if you are a celebrity, like, there are lots of celebrities that require NDAs before you date them. And I feel like anyone trying to protect their own image should be probably doing the same at this point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've all seen in Notting Hill that what happens when a celebrity dates a non-celebrity.
I'm going to go with you on this because I've never seen that movie.
You never seen Notting Hill?
We've talked about this. I don't.
Wait, so every time I say oopsie daisy, you don't get the reference? Well, clearly you've never seen the movie.
Oopsie daisy is just a phrase that people say.
Oh my God. Well, 12 and a half years together. 12 and a half years.
We talked about this.
This is how I find out.
Julia Roberts is also not my jam.
Oh, you're still mad about Aaron Brockovich.
Did Notting Hill happen after that or before?
Before?
I want to say it was before, but like also like hey, let's see. I have a hard time with Julia Roberts because she won the Academy Award for Aaron Brockovich. I know it's not her fault. Like, she did a fine job, and also that was a really smartly written character, and she did it. That year, though, she was also going against Ellen Burstyn for Requiem for a Dream, which was a performance, like a true performance, an unpleasant one, but a performance nonetheless. And also, that was the same year that Bjork would have been nominated for an Oscar if she had been seen as an actress instead of just a musical performer that year. And I felt like Dancer in the Dark was also a stronger performance. It's just one of those things where, like, I was 16, 17 and had big opinions about the Oscars because I was an idealist and I thought the best performance should win. And then that's when I realized, like, oh, the Oscars are the Oscars, and that's fine. And, like, I can back up and just sort of appreciate them for what they are. But I, like, Julia Roberts, especially, like, but Notting Hill, it's a romantic comedy. I was a teenager. That was not what I was into.
You're still a dude, bro.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day.
Dude, bro. How dare you?
No, but when you were younger, you were a dude, bro.
But even that, like,
nerd. Dude, bro, nerd.
But it's fine. But although as a teenager, there were a handful of, like, romantic comedies that I actually did enjoy. Like, because I will say, like, was the one that I always think of that One Fine Day is honestly, like...
Which one's that?
Michelle Pfeiffer and George Clooney. I loved that movie when I was a teenager when it came out. Like, that was a solid...
Was that the same time as You've Got Mail? Like, when they were kind of making all those, like...
The New York... romantic comedy. Yeah, You've Got Mail was around the same time, which I enjoyed You've Got Mail as well. But also in Sleepless in Seattle, like, I was 12 when that came out, movie. And that was good. So I don't know. It's but yeah, like, Notting Hill just didn't appeal to me at the time, and so I never saw it.
Wow, you're missing out. It's hilarious.
But I do love the whole thing that he has a travel bookstore only. Like, I do know that.
Yeah.
And I love that idea of just, like, people coming in and being like, do you have the new Crichton? No. Do you have the new Grisham? No, we are a travel bookstore. I love that.
Yeah, we should watch it. It's really funny.
Yeah?
Yeah, let's add that to the list. But going back to Taylor, like, I think if I was the most famous person in the world, I would probably also have to date another famous person. You at least have to date someone that's rich enough to live your life, because, like, you can't just expect Taylor, like, if Taylor just started dating a Joe Schmo who couldn't afford to fly private, who couldn't go to Paris every other weekend to meet her at her concert, like, there's a certain level of lifestyle that you have to live to date someone that rich and famous, unless Taylor's the type to just be like, I'll pay for it all, I'll ship you around, I'll do this, live my life, so I think you have to be equally successful and equally rich to date someone that rich and successful, so it's not so you don't become like their assistant at the end of the day.
I think if I were in her place, I would literally have to find someone who is completely not engaged in this world at all and doesn't care. Like, literally, and I know that's probably impossible. I'd have to find someone, like, raised by wolves, and, like, lived in a cave for 30 years. Like, I would just literally have to find someone who's been
it's a
off
hard
the grid
balance
and confused.
You don't want them to already know your entire life. you know,
Right.
because of what they've read in magazines and stuff.
Totally.
But also, like, being famous is so hard. I know I don't want to like be like, oh, they're billionaires, their lives are hard. But at the end of the day, there is a level of uncomfort that comes with being that famous, because like you can't go certain places, you can't do certain things. Like,
well, the fact that there's like a perceived ownership by the public is weird.
Yeah.
Like that is honestly very strange. And that is, I mean, that's largely probably a social media internet kind of thing, and that like Twitter gave a lot of people direct lines into people's inner monologues, especially celebrities at times. And it's just like, maybe we don't need that level of access.
yeah. So, but anyway, I just wanted to say thank you for listening for giving it a shot.
Well,
listening. Now you know.
We still have to listen to the anthology for the second half, which
if that ever comes out.
Which we'll have to listen digitally. Personally, Taylor, like this is a message for Taylor, and this is a fair criticism. You gotta stop selling your albums fourfold for individual tracks and stuff. Like we went through this in like the mid-aughts, like literally, like what the Hives, Kenna, Interscope. You were the big problem here. I literally had to buy albums multiple times across iTunes, at like Best Buy, Target to get bonus tracks of artists that I adored, and those were CDs. They were like $12 at the time. That wasn't that big of a deal. Like Tortured Poets was a $40 record. There are 4 versions of it with 4 different bonus tracks, and all of them are missing the second half of the album. This is kind of just cruel at this point to do to your fans.
Yeah, I definitely don't agree with or believe in variant chasing and releasing tons of variants of the same thing.
You don't become a billionaire by only selling 1 copy of an album to your fans, though, apparently.
Exactly. I think it should be like a release and then a deluxo release and maybe like a independent record store release, and that's it. And then, that makes things harder to get and things worth more and stuff like that.
Well, and even like Boy Genius actually did it really smart. They did the album, which is called, I think, The Record. Was that their most recent one with the hands on it? Well, their most recent album was highly acclaimed, and then later they released an album or an EP, I think, that was called like The Rest or something like that.
I saw that.
And it was like additional stuff from those sessions, and it's like it's like, Taylor, I would rather you just charged us $10 extra and gave us 1 extra disc with all the bonus tracks. Like, don't make people buy your album 4 times. Yeah, just charge us more and give us everything.
Knowing the record industry and knowing Taylor, the second half of the anthology is going to come out as a special release. Who knows? It could even be the next record store day on Thanksgiving. Like,
yeah,
it's just, it definitely feels like a money grab sometimes, but whatever.
Yeah. Well,
the market is there. People want it. People are buying it. It's rare that people get upset with the variants. So
yeah, I mean, I guess if I'd known, I wouldn't have pre-ordered Tortured Poets for you when she announced it at the Grammys.
Yeah,
and I guess that's the biggest thing, is just like, I've learned now. So there's that. Like, maybe we know
we're still pre-ordering when things are announced, Robert.
Right, and it's not like Tortured Poets is hard to find. It's everywhere.
Yeah,
there's an abundance of it.
You've already seen used versions at record stores.
Yeah,
like, it's only been up for a week.
Yeah, not a ton, but I've seen 2. And it's like, that's already fairly remarkable, given that it'd been out for less than a week.
Well, the thing that people are doing now is they're grabbing every variant because shit sells out and they don't know what's happening. And then when they get them and everything settles, they're like, oh, I don't need all 4 of these. I'm going to take these 2 back.
Yeah. But, respect, though, like, respect the hustle. And seriously, and I will say, like, we watched the Eras tour together. That's a hell of a show. And she is a performer. Like, she does a very well-produced show. Yeah. Like, that is, I mean, I've a ton of respect for her in a lot of ways. But a lot of that respect comes with a fair thing of, like, I'm not that much older nor wiser, but I'm just, I don't know. There's some drama I don't want in my life anymore.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, having said that, I think it's time to move on to our final segment. Don't you think?
Yeah. Now that Rob's been a total curmudgeon for 20 minutes.
Well, I have here our trusty blue Rip and Dip shoebox filled with America's favorite restaurants.
Yum.
Because it's time for What's Your Order? What's Your Order? All right. Like I said, there might be one fast food restaurant left in here, but everything else is fast casual at this point.
Well, you do the honors this time.
Oh, should I pick it?
Yeah. I've done it twice in a row now. So
Okay. All right. So today's restaurant is Fupa Cracker Barrel. Bam, 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 bam. Wow, this is going to be controversial.
It is.
Okay, look, I actually never researched, but they did do that like rainbow rocking chair pride post that I'm pretty sure was real when they said, our doors are open to everyone. We welcome all diners. So,
I think Cracker Barrel went pretty middle of the road, and people were upset at them about it.
Yeah.
But I want to say I think they've kind of just walked away from a stance.
Yeah. Like, I think they kind of got unfairly lumped into being a MAGA restaurant because, those kind of people are always there waiting 30, 45 minutes for a table. Because you know why? It's that country store. The MAGAs,
those candies and the sodas.
They love that country store. Yeah, right? Every
and the
old-timey
decor
soda.
that I would never. But, like, I love the edible stuff there.
Yeah, the old-timey candy. You can get an Abba Zaba or a Charleston Chew, maybe. Because, dentures, you got to work through soft candies. But, I put Cracker Barrel in because my favorite meal of the day is breakfast, and I could eat it for every meal of the day. And Cracker Barrel is one of the best breakfast restaurants ever. I mean, first off, they have every breakfast food known to man. And when it comes to breakfast, sometimes I want pancakes, sometimes I want eggs, sometimes I want bacon and sausage and ham, and I want fried eggs and scrambled eggs, and I want an omelet, and I want waffles, and I want biscuits and gravy. Like, I want the whole spectrum.
The
of
royal
breakfast.
sampler of breakfast.
Exactly. The King Kamehameha sampler of breakfast is what I want, and I would happily order that and eat it every day. And with those breakfasts comes the cutest little bottle of real maple syrup, and you can just keep ordering them. My mother, Susie, loves to save those bottles because, hoarder. She saves those bottles and fills them with colored liquid, water with food coloring in it, and then puts them in her window, and it's almost like a stained glass sculpture.
So that's where you get that kind of stuff from.
Yes. I love to craft something and then put it on a windowsill. That's my favorite. I mean, look about.
Seriously, every windowsill is a little minefield if you're trying to open it with a crank because you will knock something over. It's the same as like any surface in this home is covered in some sort of figurine. If it's my office, it's covered in a figurine or a collectible game. And then, any windowsill is covered in various bibs and bobs that catch light that this guy puts there.
Windowsills and shelves do not stay bare in this home very frequently, very often, for a long time, definitely. But, my order of Cracker Barrel is anything breakfast. Now, the thing, too, is they have a full dinner menu. They're almost like the Cheesecake Factory of breakfast foods.
Do they do dinner all day?
Breakfast, dinner, everything all day.
Oh.
Yeah. So you can go and get a chicken fried steak with biscuits and gravy if you want and put a fried egg on it. I love Cracker Barrel. My other favorite thing, they always have haunted portraiture about the restaurant. Like, they always get whoever their decorator buyer is, they go around to thrift stores and just buy the creepiest old Americana art to make those dining rooms as creepy as possible. There'll be like a tin sign that says oil change 5 cents, and then there'll be an old-timey photograph of a clearly evil dead woman, usually holding a baby. The dining room at Cracker Barrel is terrifying, but also super comforting because they all have a fireplace. And fireplace is one of my favorite smells on the planet. I love like a fresh, hello, my background is a fireplace. I love a good fireplace.
A fireplace in a restaurant is such a specific era of vibe.
And it is a wood-burning fireplace, so someone has to build that fire every day and then stoke it throughout the day.
Well, and I don't know if this was a nationwide chain, but in Las Vegas when I was a kid, my sister's favorite restaurant to go to was called the Country Inn, and it had a fireplace. That's the one thing I remember about it.
We had Country Kitchens in Missouri, which was a chain, and I don't know if they exist anymore, but...
Yeah. No, it's funny. It's just when I think of a fireplace in a restaurant, that's what I think of.
Right? And a wood fireplace. Like, the fact that someone has to build that fire every day
and maintain it.
Keep it stoked.
Yeah.
You go to any fancy schmancy restaurant, they have a gas fire feature
coming through broken glass.
Exactly.
Very modern.
Easy to flip a switch, but you go to Cracker Barrel, you're getting quality because somebody built that fire. And then, like we said, the country store. It's just, I love a gift shop. You love a gift shop. We love merch, and who doesn't want to go get breakfast and then buy an exorbitantly expensive scented candle and maybe a crocheted top?
Or a weird crafty thing of a frog holding
another frog.
Violin or something.
Yeah.
I don't want to say banjo because that's Kermit, but it has to be
they
something
definitely
weird.
have those frog band sculptures for your yard.
Yeah.
And then, the giant rocking chairs.
Yeah.
Which that's a dream, is to one day have a house with a deck, a wraparound porch big enough to get some of those Cracker Barrel rocking chairs. Oh, I love it. A boy can dream. But yeah, so you may not have a specific order, but what would you order?
I think I do, actually.
Okay, what is it?
Well, because so I've only been to Cracker Barrel a handful of times. Probably, I'm guessing 5 or 6.
I feel like they're almost all with me.
No, well, I went once with, I was opening for a friend for a stand-up show in Colorado, and on the way we stopped at one, and like driving across the country with family, I stopped at one once.
Because we've gone in Cape Girardeau when we go see Kendra.
But yeah, I think I've probably been to Cracker Barrel maybe 2-3 times without you. That's it.
We stopped on our drive up here when we moved to Seattle.
Yeah.
And like, it was funny, we pulled off the freeway after driving all day, moving cross country, and we pull into the hotel and there's a Cracker Barrel like across the street, and I was like, we're going to Cracker Barrel. It's been a fucking day. I just want breakfast for dinner. Well,
and yes, for me, like, as you can tell, I order breakfast because I was like, they sell dinner? I had no idea. I've never been there for dinner. We always go there in the morning, and for me, actually, the real like crazy thing, and this was something that I just never grew up with any restaurants that offered this: grits.
That's right. You love grits.
I love cream of wheat. I grew up, like, my grandmother loved cream of wheat, and so I grew up, and it's like one of those comfort foods for me, especially if you have an upset stomach or something. And so I love grits. And while I was there the first time, somebody pointed out to me, like, you should drop your egg into the grits and mix it up.
Oh, a fried egg.
Yeah, because like the yolk really just kind of just brings it to life. And I do like a sunny side up egg, which kind of weirds people out. But it blends into grits really well. Yeah. And so like I typically get breakfast that involves like a sunny side up egg, gotta get a side of grits. I'll probably get a side of biscuits and gravy, because biscuits and gravy is just like, that's so the reason to go to a breakfast restaurant, because I'm not making that shit at home. No. Like that's out of my skill set. I can make eggs, I can make bacon, but I'm not doing biscuits and gravy. Bacon still chewy. That's a firm rule for me. Yep. On that one. But yeah, like basically, probably some sort of hash brownie thing, also probably mixed with my runny eggs. I
was going to say, you love to make a breakfast slop.
I do. I like mixing eggs into things just because I really feel like that it really brings it all together.
Which my best friend Kendra does the same thing. You mix your hash browns with your fried egg, with your gravy, mix it all together, and then you put it on toast.
Because, yeah, like you've seen that, like, I don't really do like a scramble per se of like, I don't do scrambled eggs very often. I tend to do a fried egg that I then chop up at the last second, so it becomes almost like a half-cooked, pre-scrambled kind of business, just because I love it. If my yolk is set, I'm sending it back. Yeah. If it's set at all, I'm sending it back.
As a fried egg.
Yeah, like I cannot do a set yolk for the most part. Yeah. And so, yeah, but like Cracker Barrel, though, seriously, the grits, it's all about the grits. Like, if they said we're out of grits, I might be like, I'll get dinner. Like, maybe that's when I'll discover what they have for dinner.
I love a good cheesy grit, but that's mainly for the cheese. Like,
I don't think I've ever had cheese in my grits,
which is crazy. But
that sounds delicious, though.
Plain grits doesn't really have a flavor to me. Most people eat it with syrup, but you don't really like a sweet breakfast.
I do a butter and salt grit.
Yeah,
like I'm a very savory guy. Yeah.
I'm
a savory guy.
It's pretty much just a conveyor of salt into your body.
Yeah.
Which is so funny, because I feel like in so many different areas of food, you are such a picky eater, but the fact that you love grits and cream of wheat is so funny to me, because those are things I don't really care for.
Yeah.
And that usually comes down to a texture thing. It's almost too close to slime. I just can't do it.
I could totally see that. Yeah. It is a very, but like, yeah.
Because you also love an egg that sometimes has clear white. Like, you want your yolk so runny that you don't even want the egg white to be set.
No, and that's not the ideal, but it is one of those where I've learned
it doesn't bother you.
I've learned to take a semi-gelatinous white with the runny yolk, just because honestly the trade-off of a set yolk is that much worse for me.
And I gotta say, it's very funny to me that I live on the West Coast. I love living on the West Coast, like California and Washington. I love it over here. But there's just no Cracker Barrels, and it's not fair.
Well, and seriously, and like that's why they're such a novelty to me that I'm always like, They really are kind of a special little treat. And I very much hope that I'm not voting against myself with my wallet there.
Right. I don't think we are. But I find it very funny that all of my favorite restaurants are places I do not live. Like White Castle, Cracker Barrel, emos.
Which, well, it's funny, and it's somebody who's a firm, like, only lived on the West Coast. Like, they are fully just weird novelties, because I feel like, yeah, you grew up with it, and now you're being denied it. And for me, it's just this weird treat that happens. Like, White Castle is just...
But also, Seattle has nothing, so we don't have anything that we like.
We have taco time.
We have taco time. But, yeah, we barely have Taco Bell and McDonald's, and that's it, because there's just no good fast food in Seattle. But that's a whole nother episode. And as far as this episode is concerned, we made it.
Woo!
It's over. Thank you so much for being here again with me.
Hey, thank you for having me.
This is episode 16. We've done, combined, we've done 4 months of podcasting. That's crazy to me.
When you did, like, what, 1 month on your own? 1.5 months?
Yeah. I think I did like 4 or 5 episodes without you. But thank you so much for being here again.
Hey, I'm happy to be here.
Makes it so much easier because, talking to yourself and making it a conversation is very hard.
And you seem like a crazy person.
Yeah, you seem like a crazy person. But having your best friend with you makes it a lot easier.
Aww.
So, thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you're all having a great day. Do you like Cracker Barrel? Can you confirm if that Cracker Barrel Pride post was real or not? I feel like it was. And if it wasn't, maybe don't tell me because I don't want that image to be shattering. But until next time, we love you guys. We'll see you then. Goodbye. Bye.